Thanks for joining. I am Katrina Mantak from Sendoso, Director of Field Marketing, and I am joined by Jessica. I'll let you introduce yourself, Jess.
Hi, thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. My name is Jess Fisher. I am the Director of Demand Generation here at Sendoso. And today we're going to be talking all about personalization in ABM.
Great. I'm excited. Let's get started.
All right. So today we're going to be covering a few different items. First, we're going to be talking about what is ABM, right? So I think all of us as marketers have been in scenarios, organizations where everybody kind of has a different definition. So we're going to kind of start by level setting and really syncing on that definition. Next, we're going to talk about the building blocks of ABM. So depending on where you are in your kind of ABM programs, whether you're just getting started, or maybe you need a refresher, or maybe you're advanced, we're going to kind of take it back to the building blocks, these core principles that are going to help you run a successful ABM program. Then we're going to talk a little bit about personalization and sending, and we're going to give you some real life examples how sending can really help accelerate really any ABM program that you're running. And like I said, it'll be real life examples from us and from our customers. And then we'll kind of review some of the key takeaways. So I kind of wanted to start with a poll before we really dig in, and I kind of wanted to get a feel for where everybody is at in their ABM journey.
Go ahead and launch the poll. So do you have an ABM strategy today? I don't know if you can see the results coming in, Jess, but about 75% are saying no.
Okay, great. Then this is going to be a great session. We're going to walk you through, the first steps and all the way through the whole journey on how to get this thing set up. So that's great. That's great.
Yes, even for the 25%, they are going to walk away with some best practices, some tips and tricks from our end. So I'm excited. Everyone will gain a little bit of something from today's session. So
definitely.
Let me go ahead and end the poll and you can keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start here at kind of the foundation here. So what is account-based marketing? So, there's different definitions. Sometimes we hear ABX, sometimes we hear ABM. So really, what is it? And really for me and for us and for our organization, ABM is really about coordinating all of our efforts to really create a personalized experience for our target accounts. So creating valuable offers that are really going to speak to these individual personas, our buying committees that are going to drive engagement and ultimately conversions and lead to close won deals. And as part of this is kind of our foundation on what we need for resources. So if you're just getting started and you're thinking, how do I build my ABM team? What are the critical pieces that I need? This is really the outline. So ABM, in order to be successful, is really about aligning marketing, your sales development or BDRs, sales, in a lot of cases, customer success, and making sure you have that close alignment between all of the organizations. So really, this is going to be your core team. And then, there's a couple foundational things I want to go through. So intelligence driven. So I think that is a huge part of ABM that really sets us apart from all the other demand gen activities that we are doing. So we want to make sure that we have that data driven intelligence at really every step. So whether we are building out our target accounts, we are putting together our plays, we're figuring out, funnel conversions, we want to make sure that we have the data to back it up. For us personally, we use intent data, and I'll get more into this a little bit later, but if you don't have intent data, you can do things like look at your closed won historical deals, understand who those decision makers were in that deal, build out your buying committee, understand how many days it takes for a deal to go from stage one to close one. So you can really start digging in and making decisions based on the data that you have available to you. Orchestration, so we talked about that a little bit. So really making sure that we have a consistent experience, whether it's marketing reaching out, if it's SDRs doing our follow-up, if it's sales sending over, some really targeted messages or an invitation to an event. We want to make sure that it's really coordinated and we're giving this account a consistent experience. Targeting, so really that's really what ABM is all about, making sure that we are sphere fishing, as they say, and that we're being hyper targeted in who we are running our campaigns towards, and our account selection, our persona, our messages, everything really needs to be targeted. Measurement, that's another huge one. So really anything that we're doing, we want to make sure that it is measurable. So thinking about that from the get-go, how are we going to set this up? How are we going to measure results? And sometimes with ABM, it's not as straightforward, right? So if we're doing a traditional demand gen campaign inbound, we can say we're going to track it by the number of net new leads. Well, in ABM, a lot of times the leads and contacts are already in the database. So how are you going to track some of those other metrics? How are you going to measure engagement and make sure that that account as a whole is moving through the funnel? So very important to put those measurements and metrics in place beforehand. And then personalization. So that's really what today is all about, is how we can create these personalized journeys for our target accounts and target personas. And next, we'll kind of go over the 5 building blocks of ABM. So really, these are the stages that you want to consider as you're building out your program. And number 1, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on targeting, because I feel like this is often a sticking point for organizations. So where do I get started? How do I decide who I'm going to target? How do I get this buy off with sales on the list? And this is really where that intent data comes in, and making sure that you're really understanding who your target personas are, what keeps them up at night, what their pain points are, and making sure that you have all of this information mapped. So the way that I like to do it is I'll coordinate with our sales team. They usually take the first run at the list. So they come back and they say, hey, we've got 500 accounts that we want to go after this year. So from there, I start segmenting that list based on intent data, and start looking at who's researching our website, who's making visits, who is showing signs that they are in, purchase or decision stage, and start narrowing that list down. So from there, we can kind of start to segment out our lists. So into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which makes it a lot more manageable for everybody. So, right now, for example, we're running a campaign to our top 400 accounts, which is considered, a one to many. And from there, we'll kind of segment down and do that one to few, and then one to one. And one to one is really all about those top accounts, the ones that you just say, I have to close this deal in 2022. And so you really want to pick the top ones that are going to involve the most personalization when you're in this stage. So let's say this is a perfect scenario. We've got our target accounts perfectly, built out. We've got our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We've got our personas mapped. The next step is to really start figuring out how you are going to attract and draw those people to your website. And for us, that looks like coordinating with our content team, product marketing, field events, and understanding what kind of content these people are interested in, what kind of offers would draw them, where are they going? Are they going to events? Are they going to virtual events, live events? And really starting to put together a solid plan of offers to get those people into our database, to get them to engage on our website, download a white paper, register for a webinar. So you kind of start mapping those out to your personas. And then engage. So this is after they've gotten into your database, and you really need to understand how you can start to take them from a lead to an MQL and start putting together some of those bottom of the funnel pieces. And this can involve, things like personalized SDR follow-up, sending cadences for your AEs. If you're doing sending or exploring sending, you can send, gifts to encourage attending a discovery call or a demo call with those reps. So figuring out ways to really create personalized experiences. And the more that you can know about these target personas, the better. You really want to kind of understand these people on a very personal level so that you can get them to engage, and you're going to stand out, amongst your competitors. Everybody knows that people get lots of outreach. They get lots of LinkedIn emails. So this is a great way to really accelerate at this stage, and then convert. So really, once we've gotten the demo, people are interested. How can we get those people to actually convert to an opportunity? Are they evaluating other vendors? Do they have any sticking points? So this is where that sales and marketing alignment comes in too, because there's only so much that we can pull, you know, from Salesforce or from our CRM or from intent data. We really need that feedback from the sales team to say, hey, you know, like maybe these are some of the points. Do we have any materials? Do we have any plays that we can do to help them overcome this obstacle? And then closing. So making sure that we're accelerating those deals, and that we are giving our sales team the right tools, resources, and enablement with this to help them get to that closed won status.
Is it fair to say that you really do have a close working relationship with your sales team through the entire process?
Definitely. So this absolutely should not be attempted in a silo. You need to really have that close relationship, ongoing conversations, weekly check-ins, and having those conversations. Because like I said, they're going to have insights that we're not going to be able to pull from a database. We're not going to be able to track on Google Analytics. Like we really need their feedback to understand what's going on in these opportunities and deals.
That partnership is so important because nobody will know their prospects better than they will.
Exactly.
Now feels like a good time to push a poll, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and launch the poll. So this is kind of a two-part question. What part of the ABM process are you having the most friction with? So Jess just broke it down into 5 different parts of the ABM process. So I'm curious what folks are struggling with the most. The second part of the question is, what ABM technologies are you already using? So maybe it's Terminus, 6 Sense, demand-based. Maybe you're already using Sendoso. I see a few folks are. We'll give everyone a few more seconds here to enter, but what it looks like so far is it's a pretty even split between attract, engage, and convert. Is that sort of what you expected, Jess?
Yeah, I think, yeah, those early steps are really the ones that I think, you know, people struggle with and I've struggled with in the past. And they do definitely require, you know, some attention, especially when you're getting started. Like those are the areas that you're going to need to really focus on.
Yeah, it looks like engage especially is where folks are challenged the most. And then, you know, quite a few people said other. So I'm curious if you can put it in the chat. What other ABM technologies are you currently using? If we didn't list it out, go ahead and flop it in the chat so we can see what other folks are using. All
Great.
right.
So then we'll kind of talk a little bit about, and we touched on this a bit, but this is really our typical ABM engagement strategy. So a lot of us as marketers have been doing things like personalized SDR outreach, targeted ads on LinkedIn, sponsored content, tailored messages, personalized campaigns. And while those are all great tactics to get started with, you know, what we're kind of seeing in the market is that, you know, because some of these things have kind of become standard practice, we are seeing more people doing it. Your competitors are doing it. And there is a little bit of a diminishing return here, right? So like digital ads, like that's something that, you know, takes, you know, a small amount of effort considering the reach that you can get. And so people are getting inundated and, you know, ad blindness is a real thing, ad fatigue. So really, how do you take it to the next level, stand out amongst your competitors and really do something that's going to help you accelerate and build your ABM programs? And so that's where we get into sending. So sending is something that you can really implement for any kind of play that you're looking to run. At every stage of the funnel, there is really an opportunity to create that hyper-personalized experience. So whether you are trying to target net new prospects and get those into the database, you know, there's offers there. Whether you're trying to engage and really get some of those decision makers involved in the buying process, converting. So after that post demo touch, like we've got the right stakeholders in the conversation, and now how can we really stay top of mind and set ourselves apart? These are all really successful examples of how you can really engage throughout the funnel using gifting. And the great thing, so a question that we get a lot of the time is like, well, gifting sounds like it could be a heavy lift. And really with Sendoso specifically, it's pretty simple. So we integrate with most of the major ABM platforms. We also integrate with most of the big automation platforms like Marketo and HubSpot, Active Campaign, and so it really becomes easy as a marketer. So you can build out these plays just like you would build out an email touch. So you can set it up in Salesforce, you can execute the campaign, you can add contacts, you can share that campaign with your SDR or AEs. And so literally it's just a click away, adding that person to a campaign, and you can add a gifting touch, which is pretty amazing. And it really has shown to create some amazing results.
I think it's time for a poll, Jess. You know I love my polls. I am curious, have folks that are tuning in today received a gift in the last 6 months? Yes, no, maybe you can't remember. Was it not that memorable? Did 6 months just fly by and you can't remember? Very curious. I know a lot of us are working from home. That is another question that comes up. So maybe I'll just answer that now. A question we get asked is, how do you get people's home address? So Sendoso has an address confirmation feature that allows you to capture their home address just by simply sending them an email. They confidentially enter their email or their home address. Nothing is ever stored. It's sent straight to the vendor ships them their item, and that address disappears. So very safe. Folks are very eager to provide their home address if they know they might be getting something fun in the mail. So that really has not stopped us, even with most of the workforce working from home. I'm going to end this poll, and it looks like 65% have received a gift. So that makes me happy. That makes us at Sendoso happy.
Yeah.
25% said no, and 10 just can't remember. So kind of a mix.
Yeah, that is a good mix. And it's a good indicator that it's becoming more and more popular. So if we had 65% of people saying yes, then I mean, that's just showing us that really gifting is going to become, no longer just kind of a nice to have, but it's going to be a must have because your competitors are doing it. People in the marketplace are definitely utilizing this strategy.
Couldn't agree more.
So with that, I'll kind of get into a few real life stories here so that we can kind of show you how this works practically when you're launching your campaign. So this is an example from Anaplan, and Anaplan is a huge B2B technology company. And what they were struggling with here is that they really wanted to increase their sphere of influence. So they had a number of target accounts and deals and pipeline that were kind of stalled. Like there just wasn't a lot of movement. And so Colleen Jackson, the ABM manager over there, she decided to put together a holiday bundle campaign and sent this to 800 executives. So really the decision makers on the deal. So in this scenario, the reps had been already working with, maybe some of the director level decision makers, buying committee, some influencers, but here they really wanted to target those executives that would ultimately be, the ultimate decision maker on the deal. And so they sent out, 800 of these sends, and they had amazing results. So they had a 35% opt-in rate, meaning that they sent out this offer saying, hey, confirm your address to get this amazing gift, and 35% opted in to receive the gift. And it ended up creating $65 million in influence pipeline and $30 million in revenue. So this was a huge play. And the one thing I like to point out in this specific example is the content. So we're talking about personalization and how to scale it. And it's not always about, including a coffee mug with somebody's favorite basketball team, personalized one-to-one to every single contact. No, in this case, what they did, which was super smart, is they included a report from Forrester. So the TEI report, which is something they do for multiple lines of business, the total economic impact of investing in this case, Anaplan. And that's something that they knew their executives and that the C-suite level people would be interested in consuming. So rather than like sending them a follow-up email with a link or a QR code, they actually sent a physical copy of that report to these executives. So personalization, like I said, doesn't always mean having to, totally customize a gift, but you can really take that persona, understand what kind of content they're interested in, what are they consuming, what's going to really target their specific pain points or maybe sticking points in that decision-making process, and we can get it right in front of them. So by sending the physical copy, they can flip through it, they can enjoy their snacks, they can, and it worked out great.
I love this example so much because I really do feel sending the physical copy to C-suites resonates so well. Like you said, they don't have to go fill in something, download something, save it somewhere. Some of us, even myself, we're old school. We like it printed right in front of us. So I love this example and how they incorporated it with a little bit of fun and food, but also content. So super valuable.
Definitely. I agree. So the next one we're going to talk about is Rollworks. So Rollworks did something really smart. And I love this campaign because what they did is they really leveraged something that was trending at the time. So if we think back maybe to like last summer, the summer before, Aperol Spritz was like the cocktail. It was on Instagram, like every restaurant had their own version. I didn't even know what it would taste like or what it was, but it was something that I feel like was just trending. So they leveraged this very popular trending cocktail to put together a send to their target accounts. And so they went and they sent these kits out. And they specifically targeted closed lost opportunities. So saying, all right, they went through the pipeline, something didn't happen, they didn't decide to go with us. What can we do to re-engage some of those closed lost deals? And they actually saw a huge uplift. So Katie Dunn ran this program, and she saw a 22% increase in net new opportunities, which is huge. So taking those new opportunities in combination with the closed lost, saw some great response, 55% increase in response rates. So if we think about that and compare it to maybe some of our traditional marketing campaigns like email opens, click-through rates, 55% response rate is huge. I mean, that's great. And a 95% sales team adoption. So another big part of ABM is really making sure, like we've talked about, you have that tight alignment with sales, you have the buy-in, we're putting together campaigns and tactics that they're excited about to get in front of their prospects, opportunities, their deals. So this is a great example how you can really just leverage something that's trending, that's fun, exciting, get your sales team engaged and really create something big.
Super timely. I love campaigns that are timely. It's kind of a working force, right? And how fun. I mean, I'm guilty. I didn't know about this cocktail, so I sort of wish I was on Rollworks list. But this is a great example of that. This could work for everyone. Folks that didn't know what this was, I would find it super fun and that I didn't know, and it's a new cocktail to mix up. Or if I did know about the trend, I would still find it very fun because maybe this isn't something that I would go out and buy myself, but I've been meaning to. So I think this is definitely one that works for the masses.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so this is a fun one, and this is a great example of how you can kind of leverage intent data. So we're talking all about data today. So in this example, the team went and pulled together a list of their top engaging accounts from 6 Sense. So they looked at their intent data to see who was visiting their website, who was searching their keywords, who was actively showing interest in purchasing. And so they put together a one to few campaign, and they sent out, this branded kind of kit of snacks and goodies And this was great. So this is just, like I said, a way to leverage that intent data, because a lot of people will say like, okay, I have the data, I know what people are doing, but now what? And so this is really how you can take that next step and start targeting these people to open doors, to start conversations. And maybe they're not researching your brand. Maybe they're showing a ton of intent data and they're researching a competitor. So this is a great way to really get in front of them, get their attention, and hopefully get your product or service in front of the right people to be part of that, consideration when there is an opportunity. And their results here, they had 11 opportunities in over $400,000 in pipeline. They ended up winning 3 of those deals already with $250,000 in closed one. And just to note, like 2 of those deals were actually the largest deals they closed that quarter. So just to show you that really pairing the data with the personalization, it can just generate huge results.
This is definitely a way to get in front of me, Jess. Food, sweets. Yeah, I'll take a meeting if someone wants to send me some cookies with my name on it.
I love it. Yeah, I'm big on the sweets too.
And I do love how, you've already given us some examples of food or beverages or fun kits. And then it looks like this one, just from the picture, doesn't involve any of that.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit different. It's unique and it's very clever. So rather than, sending some of the traditional like snacks or goodies, like Katrina mentioned, this one here, they actually used a very high value piece of content. So they went to their C-suite buying committees, and they actually sent out a hard copy of this ebook, or I'm sorry, in this case, a physical book that they knew that they would be interested in, something that was going to catch their eye. They would sit down, they would read it. It was a high value asset. And so Sendosa was able to help facilitate that send. And if you look at the results here, 84%, that's huge. So this was definitely something that, these executives wanted. It was on their radar, something they were interested in. So this goes back to, building out our personas, understanding what kind of content they're consuming, what their interests are, and really putting together something that is going to speak to them. It's going to catch their attention. And in this case, it was actually a physical copy of this book, The Definitive Guide to Digital Closings.
This reminds me too, I know everyone loves examples, so I'll just add another one from a field marketing perspective. After we had an event, our keynote speaker signed books, and so copies of those signed books went out to folks after the event. So we felt like it was a great way to follow up with the event, give them something personal and valuable. So even in your event strategy, this could be used.
Definitely. And the other little piece just to add to this that I like is this something that they're going to keep.
Yes.
Right. So they're going to add it to their bookshelf, and every time they see it, they're going to remember your brand. There's going to be that recognition that they remember, like, hey, who sent me this? Oh, yeah. So even if they're not ready to buy exactly when they get it, it's a nice way to stay front of mind with these people.
Yep. We did get a question. I don't know if you want me to go to the question now, Jess.
Yeah.
The question is, how do I get started with an ABM strategy with a very small budget?
Yeah, so I think, what you have to do is figure out areas where you can scale and where you're going to make the most impact. So, in those scenarios, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can start with a, one-to-many and really do maybe some, personalized digital ads or personalized landing pages, which don't have a ton of cost involved if you have the internal resources to, build those assets. And then the other thing, the examples that we're showing, they don't always necessarily have to be a high value gift. Like we have seen amazing results doing something as simple as like popcorn, a popcorn kit saying like, hey, let's get poppin' on your ABM strategy. Like you can keep it simple. It doesn't always have to be a high value, high ticket item. And as long as you're super specific, so that's really about going through and figuring out who those top accounts are that you really want to target. So if you don't have the budget, then start small. Start with maybe, you know, some of the accounts that you know are going to move the dial for your organization, that are going to create those, you know, high value opportunities, and start there and figure out ways that you can kind of scale within those accounts and really kind of create that personalization without necessarily having to spend, you know, a ton.
Love that. We don't need to break the bank. You can still be very personalized and genuine with some smaller budget items.
Definitely. And, you know, the other thing is you can even incorporate ABM into some of your things you're already doing. So like, for example, for trade shows and events. So in a couple of weeks, Katrina's going to the Forrester B2B Summit. And rather than just going there and collecting random names at the booth, she has worked with the sales team to put together, you know, a very targeted approach. Here's our list of potential customers, prospects, opportunities. Let's set up some one-to-one meetings, some personalized experiences while we're there. So you can definitely do those kind of things without adding additional cost, but just kind of personalizing and customizing the tactics that you're already doing.
Awesome. We have another question that came through to the Q&A. Keep submitting your questions, guys. We love these. It says, how long should I run an ABM campaign before I start to measure the results?
So on this one, it kind of depends on the deal size, right? So going back to data, looking at what the average time is from start to finish on maybe your average deal size, and understanding, you know, how long you really need to keep that running. So if it's an enterprise deal and they have, you know, a close, you know, it takes, you know, 6+ months for that deal to close, I would recommend trying to run it for the span of that 6-month deal process to be able to measure and understand if things are working. If you happen to have a shorter sales cycle, then maybe take that into account. You know, if you're doing an SMB deal and your average, you know, close time is 2 months, then maybe try it for 2 months on a targeted account list and see what your results are in the area. And then you can just kind of like tweak and adjust from there. But definitely recommend, you know, a couple of months. So this isn't just a, you know, a quick win. Like, this is definitely a process. And since we're talking to multiple stakeholders and deploying multiple tactics, you have to give it a couple of months to really get some traction, to get those touches in, to build that relationship and the engagement.
Great feedback. Here's another fun one that just came in from Marianne. She says, we are environmentally focused company. We've gone paperless for most of our efforts, no business cards, QR codes instead of handouts. What are some ways we could do a direct mail campaign that's aligned with our brand and our value?
Oh, this is awesome. Great question. So we work with a number of vendors that are eco-friendly. They're about green, they're about recycle. One example that comes to mind is we're getting ready to launch an Earth Day campaign, which is all about sustainability. And we have things like recycled pencils, like reusable straws. We have items that are going to kind of, we don't want to create like landfill, right? We don't want to just like send out stuff that people are going to like use and throw away. So really you can add that element to really any of your sending. And, you know, for us, we have tons of options that you can leverage to really hit home with that and provide, you know, sustainable gifts.
We did one, this was before your time, Jess, where folks that took a call with us or a demo or whatever the offer was, we planted a tree. So I feel like this would really sit well with Marianne's company values.
Yeah. Or even something, totally outside of the box. It doesn't always have to be a physical item. That's a great example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep coming with the questions. I'll let you get back to your slides, Jess, but keep entering those questions in the chat or the Q&A.
Yes. Okay, so this is one of my favorite examples that we've ever done. So this was a campaign that we ran here at Sendoso, and really the goal here was to re-engage stalled opportunities. So we had a number of opportunities that had just been sitting. Our reps were really giving it everything that they had to try and do outreach and engage the buying committee, and they just couldn't really get breakthrough. And so we decided to partner together to come up with a campaign that would really re-engage some of these opportunities and these prospects and gain some momentum. So what we did is we had these fortune cookies made, and within each fortune cookie, there was an ROI stat about what you would get, what your company could potentially get by investing in Sendoso. And so this one really had some great results. We had a 62% in address confirmation rate. This ended up influencing 3.3 million in pipeline, and 26% of those deals progressed to the next stage. And I just kind of want to touch on some of the behind the scenes elements that made this one successful. So really we did this one with metrics in mind, right? So we went and we worked with our marketing operations team to figure out when the best time was to send these to these executives. So they put together a plan. And then we also built out the follow-up, which I think is a key step that sometimes can be missed. So you send this gift and you want to make sure that you have somebody following up. Hey, did you receive it? Hey, did you get the offer? And so on this one, we actually did 2 sends. So we sent it out the first time, and then we sent it out a second time to those who had not opened the email or redeemed the gift. Then we automatically set up a touch with the AEs to follow up after they had received it. So really, we tried to think about this from a holistic standpoint and how we could really make it successful and make sure that we were optimizing and getting the maximum results from this campaign. And, I think this is another example of how you can do something clever, and it doesn't have to necessarily be, a high ticket item. It doesn't have to be, some over the top extravagant gift. Like, it can just be fun, and it can have personality, and it's going to get their attention. Because really, at the end of the day, that's the point. You want to get their attention, you want to spark interest, and you want to start those conversations.
I especially love any of the ideas where you can be playful and cheeky. Another one that I don't think is on here that we've mentioned is the succulent idea. We've had some customers send a succulent, and the messaging can be as simple as "let's grow together." So I love being super playful and creative as marketers. We really do appreciate when other marketers go the extra mile to think of something that will catch our eye. So love that.
Definitely. Nope, going the wrong way. Okay, and the next one I want to talk about is something a little bit different. So this one is something pretty unique. In the sense that in this case, we really wanted to create an experience. So as marketers, we run a lot of webinars, especially during, COVID quarantine. There was tons of webinars because that was our only option, webinars and virtual events. And so how do you really stand out and make sure that your event is, different and personalized? And so in this example, MarketStar partnered with one of our experience vendors. They're called In Good Taste, to actually create a virtual wine tasting event. And so they sent over a variety of wines, and they had a wine connoisseur join the call and really facilitate those one-to-one, conversations. This is a great example of something you might do in an ABM one-to-one play, where you want to invite, those C-level director, VP level contacts to an event to really create not only just, an experience, but facilitate that bonding, open conversation, kind of team building spirit. And so in this sense, they had 88% attendance rate. So if we all think about, some of our webinars or virtual events or even live events, 88% is huge. To have these people, and 5 meetings actually were set up afterwards with these enterprise customers to discuss, progressing the deal.
Yeah, just to add to that, the industry standard, I believe most recently is somewhere between 30 and 33% attendance rate. So 88 is amazing.
It's huge. Huge. Okay, so that was kind of our examples there, real life examples. So just to kind of recap what we talked about today and some of our key takeaways, really, if you're running an ABM program, you really want to try and break through that status quo and come up with new ways to really create personalized touches, experiences, gifting, and build those relationships within your target accounts to really stand out. And using gifting is a great way to really strengthen that relationship, strengthen your strategy, and again, stand out from some of the noise that people receive on a day-to-day. And, you know, integrating this with the systems that you're already using. So it's very simple, and it's a great way to scale. So if you have limited resources, like I said, it doesn't take a ton on the execution side to really get this going and get this moving and set up your cadences, and then building relationships. So really just all about building those relationships by, you know, really giving people the, you know, white glove treatment and letting them know that you care about them, you understand, you relate with them, and you hear them, and you're sending them something that is specifically for them. So it's a great way to really build up those relationships.
Agreed. We have maybe another minute to take a question, Jess.
Yeah.
This one came in from a few different folks. So can Sendoso support internationally?
Yes. So we do support international sends. We can, we're in the process of making some really cool moves in the EU. We're getting a warehouse set up there. We've hired a team there. More to come on that later this summer, but there are some very exciting things, a little tease. But right now, yeah, we currently can send. We actually just did a campaign in the EU for Mother's Day. So in the UK, the Mother's Day is in March. And so we did a flower send. So we were able to send to all of our open opportunities, our closed one, the opportunity for them to send flowers to their spouse, their mother, their loved one, whoever, for Mother's Day. And it was a really, really successful, fun campaign.
That reminds me too, that a lot of our sends are not always for the specific recipient, right? So we're sending it and they're welcome to share it with their kids, their spouses, their pets. I really do think that people appreciate when we're thinking of their family and their friends and their coworkers. One last question. We have 60 seconds. How do we handle gifting to highly regulated industries? So maybe some of those companies that can't accept, you know, those high value gifts.
Yeah, so that, you know, that definitely is something when you're talking maybe with in the SLED or government, or even sometimes in healthcare, there's some regulations. So if it is a scenario where you can't send a gift, you can absolutely incorporate personalization into your plays in terms of customizing, you know, your messaging, your ads, your offers. So you can still add that touch. You could definitely send a book, I would think. Don't quote me on that, but I mean, if you wanted to send a piece of content, something high value, you could definitely incorporate a play like that where, you know, it's not, you know, really of any high monetary value, but it's something that they're going to find useful, and it's going to help you stand out.
Love that. Well, we're right at time, Jess. I appreciate everything that you shared today on ABM and personalization. I appreciate everyone for joining. We love your questions. If we didn't get to all of them, we definitely will afterwards. But I think we're right at time. Anything else to add, Jess?
No, just thank you, everybody. And if you have any follow-up questions, please come find us on LinkedIn, and we'll do our best to help you navigate ABM. We're all kind of in this together. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.